A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, architects everywhere love to make bloomin' great windows to shock and amaze. And on the planet of Ferrix, things were no different. Well, maybe not quite so shocking or amazing, but it should still make a decent diorama, and on the plus side, it'll use less materials. So we'll start by using some craft foam to make the base. And handily, this piece of foam already has marked in it the circles that match exactly the shape of the window we want to make. With the basic structure of the base sorted, it'll also help us to figure out the kind of size we want our droid B2EMO to be. And how we do this is by using the incredibly accurate, intricate method of looking at it, guessing roughly what size we want it to be, and saying to ourselves, yeah, that should be about right. So to make what is now undoubtedly the new best boy of Star Wars, we'll start with this little potato of tinfoil, then wrap it in super sculpey medium. Then we'll almost immediately disregard it, realizing that it's not going to be up to the job. And we'll replace it with this much more sleeker, smoother vitamin container. And once the container is fitted with an equally smooth layer of clay, we'll start working on the shaping and detailing of B's head, before adding some chunky clay sausages to start bulking out the body. Then in a massive twist, we'll almost immediately disregard the head, well, because it sucks. And since I was so dejected at having to make another head, and also can't stick at anything for more than about 10 minutes, I decided to move on to the detailing on the body. And you'll notice here that I'm continuing my own personal journey of using Lego in ways that they shouldn't be used for. Click the card above to see more horrifying destruction of Lego. And whilst you're there, why not leave a like for this video and subscribe to my channel for even more unorthodox ways to make dioramas. So with the main details down, we'll move on to giving B some weathering or battle damage, which I have to admit is part of the reason why I wanted to make this diorama. B is so beaten up in the show there's barely a straight panel on him, which means I don't have to worry about things like smooth lines or straight edges. With that done, let's have another attempt at making the head. So again, we'll use some Lego and this plasticky thing from the neck of a bottle to shape the lenses, before adding the little peak he has above his main lens, and then finally sculpting and shaping the top plates of his head. Then there's not really much left to do in the way of sculpting B, apart from making his feet, or legs, or covers for the wheels, whatever you want to call them. And happily, 3 out of the 4 legs are identical. So what we'll do is sculpt one, then make a silicone mold of that one to produce another 2, giving us 3 identical legs. Maths, am I right? And if you want a slightly more in-depth explanation of how to make silicone molds, click the card appearing at the top of the screen now. So we'll attach the 3 legs plus the 4th one that I made off camera, and you'll also notice that I used some, yes that's right, more Lego for the wheels. Then we'll add some greebling. Make some greeblies? Make some greebling? Anyway, however you say it, we'll add some finer details. Are these details highly accurate when compared with the source material? Sure, let's say yes. Just don't look up any of said source material. There's no need, take my word for it. And with that out of the way, we can move on to the painting. So B's received a nice base layer of white primer before receiving some black acrylic for his droid core, and then getting some red acrylic slapped onto his top plates. And before we do any weathering or detailing, we'll have a go at making his lenses. Now, I originally planned to add an LED to his main lens, which you might be able to see in some of the images here, but sadly that didn't work out. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Just leave it alone. Anyway, instead of using an LED light, what we'll do instead is use some UV resin tinted with an orange Gundam marker. And to that we'll add some little clay ring donuts, which will give the impression of the lens having shutters. Then using a sponge we'll add some black weathering, and then drown all his nooks and crannies in a brown wash to make the details pop. Then finally we'll mask off the middle part of his torso so we can paint on a nice clean army green stripe. And with that, let's move back to the base. We'll start by punching out those lovely pre-made circles we had, and then sand them off to make them all smooth-like. Next we'll move on to the brickwork, which is arguably my favourite part. Why? Well, brickwork in foam meets that sweet spot of maximum effectiveness, minimal effort. Basically that translates to you can get something that looks really good just by skewering in some lines with a pencil and beating it to death with a piece of tinfoil. And we'll make a semi-brick archway using much the same method. Then we'll prime the whole thing using some black acrylic paint. Whilst that dries, we'll make the window pane itself, which is super simple to do. We'll just use this semi-transparent white paper and lay over it some clear acrylic. Then you just draw on the outline of your window using a Sharpie, and bosh, you're done. Then we'll use some 1mm thick crafting foam to start bulking out the window frame. Any gaps will be filled using this Mod Podge wall filler mix, and whatever's left of that mixture will be slapped onto the walls to give it a kind of pebble-dashed textured effect. Then we'll start painting the base by dry brushing on some Vallejo sandstone paint. We'll paint the walls using Vallejo ivory plus the teeniest splodge of flat brown, and the bricks will get a coat of light orange, again mixed with a small quantity of brown. Then just for good measure, the bricks will also get a brown wash. We'll weather the wall and add some grime underneath the window frame, and then add some grouting to the gaps between our bricks. This isn't actual grouting, it's just fine sand spread over the bricks and then brushed into the gaps, and then oversprayed with some PVA glue mixed with water to seal it all in. And that's pretty much the diorama done, but it's still missing some greeblies. So in keeping with the theme of Star Wars prop making, we'll bash together some greeblies from stuff just laying around the workbench. And speaking of which, with everything done, it's time to take the diorama off of said workbench and put it into the lightbox. Thanks as always guys for watching me stumble through this one. I really hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't if you didn't, but I'd really appreciate it if you did. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I'll love you forever. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.